Depression. Everyone from time to time feels down. Psychologists like myself sometimes refer to depression as a common cold of mental illness because it's so common. You know, and I know, that a common cold can make you quite miserable. Common colds also can develop into sinus infections, pneumonia. So pay attention when you feel the signs of depression. Discouraged, low energy, self-critical, irritable with other people. It's important to note, just as you would if you had a fever, something's wrong here. I'm just not my usual me. Once you've noticed that, what are your options? Well, unfortunately, all too often, people assume, depression is a chemical disorder. Where do you go if you have a biological disorder? You go to your physician. What do physicians know how to do? They know how to write prescriptions for pills. Now, why do I bemoan the fact that 1 out of 10 Americans is taking an antidepressant? Even worse, for women in the middle years, the 40s and 50s, 1 out of almost 4 Americans are taking antidepressant medication. These medications are not sugar pills. They can have detrimental impacts on your body. They also can make you drug dependent. Opioids make you addicted. The drug companies say antidepressants don't make you addicted, and that's because of the definition of addiction, which includes a craving. Nobody wakes up and says, I can't wait to take my antidepressant medication. They don't give you a high, they essentially numb you. Now, antidepressant medications do help some people. The difficulty is, number one, there's many people that they don't help. They only help about maybe at best 60% of the people who take them. Second, there can be serious side effects. Google antidepressant side effects if you want to scare yourself a little before taking them. The good news? There's lots of psychotherapy, talk therapy methods for getting rid of a down mood. There's lots of prescriptions or techniques without pills for feeling better. So today, the particular prescriptions that I'd like to share with you come from my own theory of what makes people feel good and what makes people feel bad. When I write books about it, I call it conflict resolution theory. To remember it in a more easy way, let's call it bump therapy. Here's why. You're walking down the road of life. Maybe you're rushing along the road of life and you hit a bump. So at that bump, which is some disturbing situation, you scratch your head and figure out what to do about it. If you're lucky, you get what you want and move on, tootling on down the rest of your road of life. But all too often, when we hit a disturbing circumstance, we fold. We give up on what we want. Sometimes that's a good idea because there just don't seem to be any other options, or if the other option is to get into a fight, may not be worth it. Giving up in response to something you want triggers depression. Okay, this model, this bump model, tells us what we need to do to feel better. Here's the bump. We've gone into depression. Back up. Identify that bump and solve the problem in a new way. Sounds easy, but not quite so easy. Here's why. When you're depressed, often you don't know what the bump was. There's something about that dark cloud that surrounds you when you're depressed that seems to block you from knowing what you gave up? What was the hurdle you couldn't overcome? So prescription number 1 will be a technique for pinpointing that problem. Here's another problem with depression. When you're depressed, you feel powerless. When we feel small and powerless, it's pretty hard to think of ideas of what we could do to solve the problem. Prescription number 2, pump up. I'll show you how in a moment. Prescription number 3, now that you know what the problem is, the bump, and you're feeling strong enough, now problem solve. If I did this pumping up routine before I went into the meeting, I could just aim to speak louder, speak more authoritatively, speak with confidence, like, I know what I'm talking about and I'm trying to be helpful to you here. Visualize what happens then. That guy over there, no matter what I do, he's not going to listen to me. But from this big position, I can see that's about him. He doesn't listen to anyone. I don't need to take that so personally. The others, though, they're paying attention. They do seem to be listening to what I say. Also, I see I could be a little more humble and patient and say what I'm saying with explanations, so they don't feel so threatened that what I'm saying is something they know nothing about. How do you feel, Julie, as you look at that scene? Julie said, I still feel big. I feel brighter. I feel lighter. It's like that dark cloud of depression lifted, like a fog on a sunny day. Prescriptions without pills. You can use these techniques as well. Listen back to the video and jot down the specific questions that I asked for each of the 3 prescriptions. That's your written prescription. When you feel down, remember, life is not an endurance contest. There's no need to keep suffering. Use your prescriptions, pinpoint the problem, pump up, and problem solve, so you too can return to the light of well-being.